for having the Department of Agriculture join. We just have a lot of open funding opportunities right now to help farmers find success in direct marketing. And so I just wanted to be able to share some highlights of that, and then put a number of links in the chat as well that can be shared out as resources, so that as you all are thinking about ways to either build your direct marketing or diversify your markets due to COVID, just know that these resources are here so that the state of Minnesota can help you in that endeavor. So I'm just going to give a brief rundown of several programs. Sorry if it's kind of a lot to go with, but I know the real purpose of tonight is to hear from what real Minnesota farmers are doing, so don't want to take too much time. At the Minnesota Department of Agriculture, I'm our regional marketing specialist, so I'm really looking at regional food systems, wholesale connections for farmers, whether it's selling direct or selling through a distributor or a food hub. And so part of that work is leading our farm to school efforts. And it's really exciting this year. For the first time, we actually are offering grants that will reimburse schools for buying Minnesota grown and raised products. So that grant opportunity is open right now, and it allows a school to apply for funds at 2 different tiers. If they're just getting started, they can apply for our First Bite mini grant, and they'll get $2,000 to $5,000 to either buy directly from a farm or buy from a distributor or food hub who's getting those Minnesota grown and raised products into their school lunch programs. And then we have a larger scale grant that is somewhat dependent on school size, up to $35,000. And that one requires a 1-to-1 match, so that what we're investing from state of Minnesota is going twice as far in the local procurement budgets of Minnesota schools. And so that means that we're trying to incentivize schools for spending up to $70,000 or even going beyond that, you know, depending on their programming, all going into Minnesota agriculture. So if wholesale and farm to schools of interest to you, either starting at the small scale or maybe expanding, schools are looking to apply for these grants right now, and it could be a great time for a farmer or groups of farmers to think about who's in their area, reach out, let them know what you're going to have available in 2021. So this can be supportive of planning for next school year, you know, since we're in that winter period right now. So I'll add those links. A couple other programs that we have, of course, we always have our Minnesota Grown program that you can join either to use the logo or to be listed in our directory, where we have a lot of consumer interest in finding Minnesota farmers to buy direct. We also have a cost share program that gets you labeling and packaging, you know, so you don't have to go and invent your entire own brand if you don't want to. Because we know that COVID-19 has shifted a lot of farmers onto e-commerce platforms, we also have an e-commerce cost share right now, where if you are a Minnesota grown license holder, we will reimburse you up to $4,000, I believe. I don't run this program, I'll share the link. So that, you know, buying a website domain, doing photography or video to increase your online presence marketing, like these are all things that could be eligible. It's a new program we made because of COVID-19, and funding is kind of something you can apply for right now. And so it's a great opportunity because I know so many farmers have pivoted and you know, made that e-commerce work for them. And then we have a few other COVID-19 grants to help you be safe in how you want to do your direct marketing. So we have a Safe on the Farm cost share for COVID adaptations for your on-farm store, if that's a route you look at. And we have a newly launched Safe at the Winter Farmers Market cost share for those winter farmers markets to make sure they're doing proper, you know, physical distancing and practices like that. So a lot to go in, but hopefully something that resonates, could be of help to you or another farm you know. I'll put my info in the chat as well, and don't hesitate to reach out if we can be of assistance at the Department of Agriculture. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks, Helen. And there was one question in the chat box about if there are similar programs in Wisconsin. I'm not sure if you can address that.
I can't immediately. I know they've also been doing innovative adaptations, but I think it would be best to reach out directly to the Wisconsin Department of Ag for clarity on that.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thanks so much, Helen. And yeah, like she said, she's going to put some of those links in the chat box there, so everybody can keep an eye on that throughout this webinar. And just if you see anything you're interested in, feel free to go ahead and check that out.
Thank you so
Helen.
much.
Yeah. All right. So a few other programs that I wanted to address or just mention. NRCS has a ton of really good resources out there for you. They have a lot of technical assistance, as well as their primary two that most people use them for is the Environmental Quality Incentives Program, or the EQIP program, and then that CSP program. We actually have quite a bit of future information we're going to be putting out on these. We're still in the works of getting dates and things lined up for that. But keep an eye out. We'll be putting out dates and webinars and a bunch of opportunities for you to get a lot of information on those programs. And then another program that maybe a lot of people don't know about is the Ag Water Quality Certification Program. And with that program, you essentially get qualified based on a few of the practices you do for Ag Water Quality Certification, and you get the opportunity for some significant funding through that, as much as $5,000 per year on a farm. So I would encourage you all to check that out as well. But with that, I think we're going to move into the main topic of our webinar today, and that's direct marketing. And like I mentioned, we've got three really fantastic farmers who are doing this. And the first one we're going to have talk is Rachelle Meyer. And so Rachelle, I think you are on the call. If you're able to go ahead and take it from here.
Yeah. So hello everybody, my name is Rachelle Meyer and I farm in Southeast Minnesota with my husband and our 5 kids. So you can see we're very busy because all of our kids are very young still. So we're a regenerative farm and we focus on the health of our soil and our animals and our family, as well as our local community. We raise 100% grass-fed beef and goat, as well as pasture-raised pork, poultries, and eggs. And I just want to talk a little bit about our farm. So Jordan was born and raised on our farm. His dad is a conventional dairy, and he farms with his dad and uncle. Jordan and I met in high school, and I started coming out here, and we've been farming together ever since. So we decided we wanted to kind of jump on the regenerative bandwagon, I guess you might want to call it. Back in 2015, we started renting a local farm here north of town, and we wanted to better our land and raise more healthy food for our family. So we started with organic crop farming. We wanted a better premium, price for our products, because conventionally raised, corn and soybeans, you don't get, much for them. So in 2018, we actually went to a soil health kind of summit up in North Dakota, when we saw Gabe Brown and a couple other known speakers, and we left there and Jordan was like, we're getting cows. The next month we got some beef cows and haven't looked back. So we started the direct marketing just because we wanted a premium price for our product and it fit well with our farm. So we decided we wanted to raise beef because we had unused pasture that was just kind of sitting there at our home farm and the farm that we rent north of town. So we knew the benefits of grazing cattle on cropland. We wanted to integrate some of that. We loved working with animals versus nature and not having to work with equipment so much. So we wanted to slowly transition out of the crop production just because we saw them changes and what you get for price wise, and because we just want to phase out of working with equipment. We just want to better the world in general. We started raising, chickens for our family probably 5 years ago. So we figured might as well just raise a few more for the local community and see if we could, sell a few. We used to raise confinement hogs, and Jordan was like, hey, if we can do everything else out on pasture, let's throw some pigs out there and see how it goes. And it's gone pretty well for us. And same with the goats. We had unused woodland and it was full of brush, and we're like, hey, what can we do with this? It's just sitting here. We wanted to capitalize on that land not being used and make a profit off of it. So I definitely want to reiterate that direct marketing is not the only way to make money for everybody. Direct marketing isn't for everybody. I mean, it takes a lot of time and effort to, build them relationships with your customers, to keep them customers coming back. And, a lot of people are just in the monocrop kind of mentality, and we need to get out of that. So you're wondering, how can I lower my input costs without having to direct market? Well, you can start, slowly transitioning your beef to grass and getting rid of them, costs with feeding grain, and you won't have any vet costs. And what if I'm a crop farmer? Well, you don't necessarily have to switch over to direct marketing and raising livestock. You can start interseeding, adding cover crops for, green manure to increase fertility. This will save you time and money on working the land, as well as costs of fertilizers and sprays. So there's other ways if you don't want to direct market and you're kind of an introvert, because most farmers are. They don't want to communicate with people. They just want to farm. They just want to do their thing, raise their animals, which is great. We need those kind of people too. So I just want to, really stress that direct marketing is not the one size fits all. It really varies farmer to farmer and your land as well. So, the way that we built our market, so we just kind of started talking to local, people in town. Hey, we're going to raise a few chickens, and, talk to our family, and we're like, hey, we're just going to, raise some pigs this year. One of you guys be interested? So that's what we did. So then it just kind of, grows from there. And really, to start out with, you need to find out who you want to market to. Who is your ideal customer? Because when you're speaking to everyone, you're truly speaking to no one, and you won't build those relationships. And that's really important if you want a direct market. You need to build that relationship. So as you grow your business, you're kind of are going to start figuring out who that target market is. And you'll find that you actually, by finding that target market, you actually find people start coming to you that you would never even have pictured buying from you. And you need to come from a place of helping your customer. It's not, we don't just look for the sale. We don't just look for the money. We're actually wanting to provide our customers with actual education, how we grow our food, why it's different, why it's important. We like to give them recipes and tips for cooking and other tools to help them along the way. In return, you get a loyal customer who almost becomes like your own family. That's how we treat them. And they trust us, and they keep coming back to us, and then they tell their friends about us, and then it just kind of spreads from there. So one thing I really, really, really want to reiterate is you need to start an email list. A lot of people think that's outdated, but that's like the number one way we communicate with our customers, whether it's, telling them what's going on with the farm. Social media is not the one place to go. A lot of people think that's where you need to be, but with the Facebook algorithms nowadays, it's difficult to, sure, you can share your story on there, but it's hard to sell. You don't own Facebook, you own your email list. So that's what's been really key for us. We send our customers recipes on there and guides and just things to help them. Like I said, it's all about your customer, not you. That's why sometimes direct marketing isn't for everybody. Because you are trying to compete with them, big businesses like ButcherBox, and in order to have an online presence and be competitive, you need to bring another basically product to the table. You're not just selling chicken. You're selling your farm. You're selling your brand, and you need to focus on that. You definitely need to be consistent. So like I try to send a monthly email, sometimes more frequent if I need to. Ideally, you would want to be sending a bi-monthly to weekly email, is what they kind of say. Same with on social media. We try to post, I would say 3 to 5 times a week. Your customers want to know about you. They want to know what you're doing. They want to practically be the farmer without having to farm, is what people, kind of look for nowadays. So a huge tool I want to stress is maybe investing in a very minimal cost marketing course. That's the first thing I did, and it really helped us tremendously on our farm. We learned how to build our website through that marketing course that we took. We learned how to build an email list. We learned how to kind of post on social media and about that kind of stuff, and how to build relationships and how to build the tools to help your customer, like, free guides and, how to do all that. So you have basically so you can level up your farm. So I'll talk a little bit of pricing. Our prices are kind of based on what we have in labor, feed, the cost of the animal, any land rent, supplies. Make sure you have like your depreciation on any equipment you're using, like fencing, or if you have, if you're building a chicken tractor, stuff like that. A lot of people don't consider that into their costs, but that really should be all built in. Definitely, if you're going to have a website, your website costs, insurance that you'll need for your farm, kind of stuff like that. Plus a profit. You always want to be profitable on your farm, otherwise you're not sustainable. And so if you're only covering your costs, it puts a lot of stress on the farmer. That's why we can charge what we can, because we come from a place of helping our customer, as well as raising a different premium product for them. So you need to make sure you have a premium product as well. You can't just come with a regular confinement chicken and expect to get $5 a pound. That's not going to happen. So you need to set yourself, different than the regular market. So we try to shoot for a 20 to 30% increase, as long as it's feasible for us. If I'm not going to pay that price, why should I expect somebody else? So you need to be comfortable with what you're charging, as well as be sustainable for your farm. So one thing I really want to talk about are some of the challenges that we've faced on our farm, I guess with direct marketing, you might want to say. It's just, staying in the marketing game. There's so many other farmers out there that are trying to direct market and have an online presence and who are doing the same thing as we are. It's just building that relationship with our customers, and that's how they're choosing us over other farms, especially somebody like ButcherBox. I mean, they deliver straight to your door. I mean, they just offer so much convenience all in one package. So we need to kind of level up to them. And then I would say the upfront costs are a little more challenging for direct marketing, because, let's say you raise 600 chickens. Well, you have to buy all 600 chickens. You have to pay for the feed for that. So there's a lot of upfront costs and building and stuff, whereas, and it's not always guaranteed. You put corn in the ground and you have a guaranteed market for that corn. You don't have to worry about actually marketing to somebody and hoping these customers show up and pay and enjoy your product. So that's kind of all I have, Jared.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Rachelle. That's fantastic. And
yeah,
make sure, if you haven't already, to go ahead and either write your questions down to ask later, or go ahead and throw them in the question and answer or the chat box right now. No problem. We'll get to it. We'd love to make sure we can answer your questions. So next, we have Craig Fischer. And Craig, I know you were in the car. Looks like you made it home. So good deal.
Yep.
Take it away, Craig.
All right. So I'm Craig Fischer. We are located, or I'm married to Elizabeth, and you probably see our three boys there, Bryce, Logan, and Gavin, 5, 3, and 6 months as of today. So the boys are the 5th generation on our farm. We pasture bison, pork, and eggs, and those are all around the south central Minnesota area by Sleepy Eye. So our biggest thing is that we need to be as unique as possible. The farm needs to pay for itself. And, it's like Rachel was saying, you're crafting your story, you're building your relationship with people. You want that relationship with others, and you want it to build on, and you want to say to them, hey, I'm raising this product and you should buy from me because, it might be the best around. It might be the most unique item around, or you can only find it with us. For us, like, a lot of people ask us, hey, why do you raise bison? So we can just roll through and say, hey, let me tell you why. From a health perspective, it's very difficult to find something that's healthier. So, which is important to me because, hey, guess what? My family has heart health issues or had heart health issues. So that was a big reason that that weighed in quite a bit. From an ecological perspective, bison are a keystone species. They've been here for thousands of years. They're very well adapted. We don't have to have a shed or any kind of winter area, really. You just kind of let them go. So they are low maintenance. And I played 4 years of college baseball, so their athleticism, the adrenaline rush that you get from that, like, that's pretty fun too. And then also, like, from a competition perspective, you can look at it just in the area. There aren't very many bison producers, and basically bison aren't for everyone. So, you know, how can we add value? You want to take all of your products and try and add more value to yourself, add more value for the customers. So for instance, like, we take our bison and we take our pastured pork and we can add those, and now we can make a summer sausage or a brat. So the pork becomes the binder for the very lean bison that might otherwise crumble. So we're adding value based just utilizing what is on the farm. So go ahead, Jared. Thank you. Oh, there we go. So one of the things we wanted to look at is being diversified. That was one thing that was harped upon me in school. Just diversify. So one of the things we look at, you know, you kind of have like a 4-pronged approach. So you have your bulk direct sales. So when you sell direct, you have an inventory. So you want to keep your storage costs low. So bulk direct sales. So like a quarter or half bison, you do not have to store that. It's very clean cut. Hey, you're going to get a quarter of a bison. You put down a deposit. It's going to be on this date. You can call the butcher, you know, that day, and X amount of days later, it's ready. You can pick it up, pay us for the meat, pay the butcher, and we're good to go. So one of the things you really want is you want to establish that relationship with the customer that puts down that serious amount of money and to support your farm. You want them to come back for sure. It's not just, hey, I'm going to try it out and see if I like it. Another tier of our approach is restaurants and food service. So restaurants, super convenient. We were in 7 different restaurants before COVID, and like, the volume is really nice. I mean, if somebody takes 50 pounds of ground, that adds up pretty quick. But with COVID now, that's kind of changed things up. A lot of the restaurants have backed off, but we have had some more food truck interest, and the people that have been doing the food trucks in our areas have been doing really well. And then we have retail. So with retail, you're processing the animal, you're storing individual cuts. You might have a bunch of freezers. You might have to have a walk-in freezer. To some extent, you want to keep as much product on hand as you can, but yet you still have to balance your cash flow. So one of the ways that we balance the cash flow is we also do drop site deliveries. So we will set up a drop site and go directly to that site. Basically, we're shooting for customer convenience. So, hey, if you put your order in, we won't charge shipping. We'll be at this place at this time. And it might only be an hour that we're there. And then we ask everyone to come. We'll have everything pre-packaged. They come, pick it up. They're off on their way. They either pay on the website through a credit card, or they might do like Venmo or cash, whatever is convenient for them, for the customer. And then this year was actually our first year doing a farmer's market. There's some additional costs with that. You need to weigh that out. For instance, you might have a truck, and you might have to buy a trailer. You have depreciation on those. You have fuel. your tires, and you have to buy a padlock, and then you have to buy a second padlock because you might forget the key and have to chop the padlock off. And so basically you need to consider more costs. You might have more overhead, and you need to make sure that you're getting that margin that you really want and you need. So just because you make let's just say $500 at the farmer's market, that doesn't mean it's net. You can't forget, that's not the net profit. You need to make sure that your net profit is making it worth your while. So go ahead, Jared. Okay. So one of the things that, like, I don't put a lot of weight in the organic certification. I put a lot of weight in customer certification. So we shoot for healthy land, healthy plants, healthy people, and healthy communities. If you get those in order, I think you're doing something right. So we don't use synthetic fertilizer, chemicals, name it. But we do believe that the customer needs to approve of what we are doing. So we encourage people to come out to our farm, look for themselves, and determine yes or no. I support this farm. I support what they're doing. So we need to remember we're working for the customer. Their name is very important. If we can remember their name, that's half the battle. What do they need? How can we make it convenient for them? How can we exceed their expectations? Not just once, but time after time after time. And then how can we keep them coming back? If we keep exceeding their expectations, we remember their name, we remember their kids, we remember what health concern they might have or what cut of meat they want. Those things help encourage them to keep coming back. So again, we are not after a government certification, we're after a customer certification. It puts a little power in the customer's hand, and then it also is cheaper. Go ahead. Okay. So basically, we're trying to work with nature. Mother Nature always wins. So the more we can be regenerative, the better we are. So we're trying to just do the best we can with what we have. So one of the things we want to do is close the nutrient loop. So in a pasture system, it's a lot easier to close the nutrient loop than a crop system, because the crops, you have nutrients that are being hauled away every time you sell that crop. But if you are supplementing your crop with a little pasture, such as cover crops, that kind of changes things. So you kind of have to weigh out the pros and cons. It makes sense for you. How can you keep the nutrients better and better on your farm, better soil? So for instance, like we do winter feeding on pasture. So we go through a pasture system and we'll take like our final 1/3 of the plant, and then we're going to bale graze. We're going to do different paddocks, and we're just going to cover them. I want a nice thick mulch on there, and I'm putting new fertility in, I'm putting new ground cover, I'm putting new seeds in there. So let the animals do the work, but yet feed them out on the pasture. We don't have to haul manure when we're doing that. I think that's underestimated, like feeding in a lot versus feeding out in a pasture. If you can do feed out in the pasture and avoid compaction in the muddy seasons, great. I think that's great. But if it's muddy, we will pull them back into the lot. So our animals are not out on the pasture 365 days a year, but we're doing that to better our pasture and better the animals' experience out in the pasture. So we're able to amplify what we have. So some customers, when you explain it that way, they really appreciate that, So, and again, like pastures, I don't think they need chemicals. We try and use our animals to improve the pasture. So that's using portable electric fence, high stock density, grazing. We haven't used fertilizers, chemicals, insecticides, etc. For the last, it's been 8 years since anything's been put on the farm. I haven't tested the forage, our capacity, I guess you could say, but you can see it. You can see the color change. You can see the soil change. Just because we don't have those baseline results doesn't mean it's obvious that we can stock more animals than we could before. Go ahead, Jared. Okay, so then Rachel had mentioned Gabe Brown, and I like this quote. I was talking with him once, and he said, everyone likes a Cadillac, but not everyone can afford it. So he was basically saying, don't let your customers dictate the price, because there's always going to be someone looking for the cheapest pork, the cheapest beef, the cheapest chicken. Why aren't you selling for what the grocery store is? I can get it cheaper there. Fine, get it there. You know what? You might not want that person as a customer. You need somebody that values what you're producing. And if you are a price maker, you're ensuring that your farm is not only sustainable, like Rachel had said, but it is profitable, because otherwise the farm's just a hobby. If it's not making hobby, it's not going to be there. So guess what? I'm going to be here for a long time. But, you know, John Smith down the road, if he's selling bison for cheap, who knows? He might be out in 3 years. So your customers, you need to keep establishing, keep hammering on the relationship and why you're doing what you're doing. So know your costs, or at least what it should cost. And then cost should be figured into the market rate. So we assumed all labor is hired. We redid our costs about a year ago. Assume all your labor is hired, machinery is hired, your land rent that you have to pay it, even if you own it, because that's kind of like that's your fund for expansion. So you need to make sure you have enough to expand. So a hobby is fun, but when the money runs out, the game is over. And finance is how to fund the business. Economics is what drives the business. Go ahead, Jared. So noteworthy quotes. I love Warren Buffett. Rule number 1, never lose money. Rule number 2, never forget rule number 1. Positive thinking won't let you do anything, but positive thinking will let you do everything better than negative thinking will. Zig Ziglar. And also, the customer is always right. Anything can be done for a price, and persistence always wins. One of the things that really got us in with the restaurants and the food service is not only the diversity of items we offer, but also just persistence. Making sure like you don't stop at no number 1, no number 2. Number 9 might say yes. Number 16 might say yes. Number 34 might say yes. And now you can start finding a pattern. You have to ask X number of places, food service, before you find the next one. And then it's just relationships. Keep working at it, keep chipping away, do what you can. So
Perfect.
I think that's it for me.
Yeah, thanks so much, Craig. That was fantastic.
Thank you.
Next, we have Dayna, who I was lucky enough to interview this summer for the case studies, and so you can get some more information if you check out those case studies. But we have her in person here today. I was lucky enough to have 2 hours to walk around her farm and interview her. We have 10 or so, 15 minutes or so here with her now. But go ahead, Dayna. Thanks for joining us.
I thought this might happen. Everything that I wanted to say, these two already said it. And so that was wonderful. So I guess I'll chime in here and there on things where I can sort of fill in some gaps, or actually I disagree on some of the points that folks have made earlier. So I'll take the contrarian viewpoint. But to back up, so I'm Dayna, Burtness, my husband Nick Wynn in the picture. We run Nettle Valley Farm. We've got about 80 acres under management here. Some owned, some rented. We're near Spring Grove, Minnesota, so way southeastern Minnesota, almost Iowa, almost Wisconsin. I'm the 6th generation of my family to farm in this county, but I didn't actually grow up here. We've got deep roots here, but I grew up in the Twin Cities, but then when we wanted to switch from being direct marketing vegetable, or when I wanted to switch from being a direct marketed vegetable farmer to livestock, we bought a farm in the Driftless area. So yeah, our main economic enterprise here on our land is we sell whole and half pastured pigs. We are a seasonal farm, so we get, we don't keep, we're seasonal, and we are finishing only. So we don't farrow, we don't keep breeding stock, and we're seasonal. And that's part of our marketing, is that we sort of do pastured pigs the more traditional way, where you've got small pigs, quote unquote feeder pigs, in the spring, and then you raise them up on pasture, and then you're finishing them, getting them up to fattened size on pasture. But then also a big part of what we do to go after that really, really premium flavor and premium price and premium product is that we spend a lot of time gleaning apples from various farms, including our own. We've got wild apples, and then we go around and pick our neighbors' apples. So they end up eating, I should track this, but I don't even know how many tons of apples that they eat in the fall, on top of many, many tons of squash that we glean from a neighboring farm, pumpkins. We've got a really great relationship with Featherstone Farm, where we trade them a pig. In exchange, we get many thousands of pounds of their culled organic produce each week throughout the season. So the way we look at our pastured pig farm enterprise is that we're going after that premium, super primo market. So we have pastured, then our feed is all certified organic. We're not certified organic because, sort of like what Craig said, it's just not necessarily a good fit for us. And I like what you said, Craig, about being customer certified. We're customer certified as well. So pastured, organic feed. We also don't feed any corn or soy. There's some health reasons for that. We think it has a better flavor. Also, the fat is firmer, so it's much better for home curing products or projects like prosciutto or lonza. It's a more traditional way. It's also our part of trying to encourage farmers to plant more crops besides just corn and soy. And then we've got, on top of that, they're heritage breeds. We've mostly gotten different breeds each year from various feeder pig suppliers. The past 2 years we've worked with mostly Hampshire hogs. Next year we're doing more of a heritage breed mutt cross, so that'll be really fun. Lots of spots and stripes and all sorts of different coloration. So that's our strategy, is at sort of when we figured out what we wanted to do, we wanted to do the best of the best of the best of the best in smaller numbers, so we could charge the highest price that we possibly could, that would then in turn allow us to farm in the way that we wanted to farm, which is, no cutting corners, specializing in pigs, just not taking any shortcuts, with doing exactly what we wanted to be able to finish pigs exactly the way we wanted to do. So we started with 3 pigs over the winter one year and totally fell in love with them, and then started by pasture finishing 10, and then the next year moved up to 25, and then 40. Then last year we finished 50, and then this year we're in the 70s, and I think that's a good number for us. So that keeps me busy full-time for about 3/4 of the year, and then the rest of the year is probably 3/4 time spent mostly on marketing. Growing slowly like that has allowed us to really rely heavily on, you can go to the next slide, word of mouth, and that's the best way to direct market if that's what you want to do. It's just having somebody who loves what you do and loves who you are as a farmer, and then giving you the stamp of recommendation to a friend or a family member. I mean, that's the absolute best way to connect with more customers. So it's been nice that we've been able to ramp up slowly. Something else that I wanted to say is Rachelle made a really good point, and I wanted to amplify that, about thinking carefully about whether or not you are actually cut out for direct marketing. You have to like people. You have to like people. You got to like talking on the phone. You got to like writing emails, doing social media. You got to like that stuff. You can do direct marketing without liking any of that, but I mean, it's going to be like pulling teeth and you might be kind of miserable. So I just jotted down a few ideas about, you can still direct market, but just not to customers. I was thinking about it. I would just die of happiness if more people got into the direct marketed feeder pig business. I mean, please, if you want to just farm and stay at home and not talk to customers and have a product that sells itself, get into high quality pastured genetic feeder pigs in the spring and in the fall. You won't have to do any work to sell those. So selfishly, I'm going to encourage people to get into that. And then, or like turkey poults, specialized cover crop seed mixes. I don't know. There's all sorts of products that you can, direct marketing is more than just selling meat or other products just to customers. So yeah, I would say assess your personality and your goals. Because I mean, at the end of the day, you don't want to be miserable. So try to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success. And I know that that's hard to do with commodity prices being what they are. So I commend all of you, if you are a commodity farmer, to looking into this, but also I don't want you to be miserable. I would say another thing, I wrote this to be a little, I don't know, to push buttons. I would say never ever carry a business card. And what I mean by that is, of course, yeah, make business cards, make stickers, make a website, whatever. But when you're out meeting people, talking to people, what I mean by this is just be proactive. It's not enough if someone says, oh, you're a hog farmer. That's kind of cool. Maybe I should buy a hog from you someday. It's not enough to just give them a business card and then leave the ball in their court to take initiative. So what I like to do is not carry any business cards. So I always have the excuse to be like, oh, I don't have any business cards. Let me get your information and I will follow up with you. And like Craig said, it's all about relationships. And so that's a good way to start your relationship with a new person. And be genuine about it. I mean, people can tell if you're full of shit, so unless you actually are happy to talk with folks and take a genuine interest, don't fake it. As far as getting started with building your network and building your customer base, I was just giving this advice to a couple of young farmers just down the road from us. They're pastured chicken farmers and wanting to get into direct marketing. And so what I told them to do is, it wouldn't hurt to just sit down for an afternoon and make an entire spreadsheet. And it is a spreadsheet, not just a list of everyone you know. So don't say church group, right? Who are all the people in your church group? Especially, and definitely make notes of people who like you and want to help you, because that spreadsheet might come in handy when you're trying to find new customers or new connections or just opportunities. You have to get into the mindset of like what Craig's, or it was maybe Rachelle or maybe Craig, about we're not selling a scammy product that people don't need. We're in the business of helping people, of nourishing people, of feeding people. And so when you're building your business and you maybe ask your contacts to help you grow your business, you're not asking them to help you turn a profit off of selling like crappy vacuum cleaners that are going to break in a week. You have to get into the mindset of what you're doing is good for the environment. It's good for your community. It's good for the economy. It's going to be good for them. We're in the business of helping people and nourishing people. And so you have to get comfortable standing in your value, both about pricing and what you're trying to do in the world. And I think that's what I meant by mindset, making sure that you are in the right mindset and are clear on what you're doing. This is not just a job. It's not just a business. It's a vocation. It's a calling. And so that database of all the people might come in handy when not just for selling things, but also for, that church group that you're writing, can you go and speak with them about what you're doing on your farm? I guarantee you'll, by just being, this gets to another part, by being a known entity and a useful citizen in your community. That's one of the main ways that we've found pork customers, by just getting involved, helping out, showing up to things. And then certainly talking about our farm and what we do and just being passionate. I think authenticity and passion can be in short supply in this world. And so that's really attractive to people when they see it. And as far as social media goes, Rachelle is right. It's tough because you can't, if whatever the algorithms decide that they don't like you and they're not going to show your post to anybody. But I would say, as much as you can, develop your own authentic voice. Don't download a bunch of templates from a marketing course and just use those. People, like I can tell, like I said, people can tell when you're being fake. Just like develop your own voice. Tell real stories about the challenges that you're facing on your farm. We had a pig that got sick and died this spring, and this summer it was really rough. And it's hard to share your failures or your challenges with the broader world, but I think it's important that people know that what we're trying to do is difficult, and I think it helps people understand sometimes why our products cost more than other products do, because of all the extra love and TLC that it takes to raise a pastured animal. And I think when you're real and vulnerable and speaking your own voice on social media, people feel like they're on your team. And so they're much more likely to recommend you and your products to their friends and family. And that's another way that we found a lot of customers. I think we're up to 90 customers for 71 pastured hogs. So a lot of folks are buying halves this year. But some folks over the years have upgraded from halves to wholes. As far as pricing goes, what Craig and Rachelle both said was really great, but I'm going to add, it's like farm business managers and management classes are always talking about it, like do your enterprise budget, figure out exactly what all your costs are, and then add a percentage for profit. And it's like, yes, do that. And if you're just getting started out, you might be really inefficient. So you also have to balance what your enterprise budget is telling you to charge with what you can actually charge, right? So a sort of a shortcut to that is look at other producers and figure out who else is doing, say, pastured pork the way you want to do. That's how we set our prices. It was just like, well, we know we want to have the absolute most premium product. So what is the highest price anyone is charging for pork? And we're going to figure out how we can be just as good as that farm, if not better, and charge those prices, if not more. So that's sort of, as you're getting started, that's a shortcut. And definitely charge more than less. It's easier to drop your prices at some point than it is to raise your prices on your customers once you've already established your business. I made a note about paid advertisements. I could look back through all of our spreadsheets of our customers. I don't know if we've sold a single pig through paid advertisements. We'll probably keep doing it. We're a Minnesota Grown member. We're in the database. We've tried paid ads in various, like the Bluff Country guide or the Driftless Food Guide, and we'll probably keep doing that just because they're good organizations and publications we want to support. But I wouldn't necessarily put all your eggs in that basket. That's maybe somebody else has had great experiences with paid advertisements, but I have not. Let's see. I also want to, Craig, I'm going to pick a fight with you about the customer always being right. I think we should be always looking at mistakes that we make as opportunities to win loyal customers for life. So my philosophy is, so if I mess something up and a customer's not happy, I'll refund their money and give them more pork. So you want to make things double right. However, I am not afraid to fire customers, because if from the beginning they're nothing but a pain in the butt, and they're persnickety about payment and they're not reading the communications that I'm sending to them, I'd say the customer is often right. This is not always right though. I just had to basically fire a customer today, just because it just wasn't working out. So I'd say, it's one of those 80-20 things, like 80% of your problems are going to come from 20% of your customers, or maybe it's more like 90-10. So I'm going to be contrary on that point, and don't deal with people who are going to be disrespectful to you or disrespectful of your time. I missed anything else? Yeah, I would say just be real, be out and about, speak anytime that you're given an opportunity to speak. Try to think creatively about just how you can be a useful citizen, and how you can make social media a better place when you're on it, how you can make your community a better place. I know one of the ways that we got to know a lot of people and then also have sold a lot of hogs is by being involved in activism. So really standing up for the values that you hold dear. We got involved with fighting off a factory farm, a confinement operation in our area a couple of years ago. And that's one of the ways we became more of a known entity, and people saw, oh, like those people are willing to stand up for what they believe in and fight for what they believe in. Like, I'd like to buy pork from them. Doesn't work with everybody. Everyone's got their different angle. We've got our customers that are allergic to corn or soy, and so that's the pork that they want to eat. We've got the people who are absolutely obsessed with flavor, and so they buy our pork because it's the best tasting pork they've ever had. Some people who just like us and aren't necessarily pork snobs, but they just want to support a farm. We also run an incubator farm program, so I think some people like that idea too. So yeah, just figure out what your niche is, and yeah, be out there. Don't carry a business card. I'm trying to think of what else. I'm sure other questions will come up in the chat, but thanks for having me here. It was fun.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dayna. Thank you, everybody. We do have a few questions already, and there's both the chat and the Q&A box. So we'll answer the ones in the Q&A box first. And this is a good question kind of for all of you. So if you all want to take a turn answering this, please explain your relationship with your butchers, who your processors are, maybe what, I don't know, USDA custom, how that relationship and how you're working through that. And Dayna, why don't you go ahead and start?
Sure, I'll start. I'm really glad you can't smell me through Zoom, because we just, right before we got on this call, we got off the trailer helping unload, because our processor, Burt's Meats up in Iota, they have an employee that needs to have surgery next week. And so they called me at 7 a.m. this morning and said, hey, can you bring in your pigs today instead of Monday? So we sort of scrambled around and ended up having kind of a stressful loading and then a bit of a stressful unloading. But the thing is, like, they work their butts off. We think farmers are hard workers. My goodness. So I think our focus is trying to help them whenever they do need help, because they're always doing us favors. Can you sneak another pig on here? Or they're very patient with us, and we try to look for ways to do them favors when they need it. I also have told them that if I ever have customers that are rude to them, people who drive out and just start demanding things, that I will fire them. So just like looking to be an ally with your processor and your butcher whenever you can be. But yeah, they're in tough positions, trying to think about how we can always be improving our systems and take more off their plates. Like right now, we do delivery and we have people pick up, and used to be that Burt's would call the folks who needed to pick up their meat. So now we've taken all of that on. They just let me know, and then I'm the point of contact with all of my customers, as opposed to them having to call 70 people. So just little things like that, trying to think about how to make their lives easier.
Rachelle, the questions just
so
on
we
your
do
processor?
a little bit of both. We do on-farm processing for our chickens and turkeys, and then because you can in Minnesota. You don't have to be like certified, you don't have to be inspected or anything. As long as you're processing, I think it's under 1,000 birds. I would definitely go on the Minnesota Department of Agriculture. They have a great kind of a guide that you can follow, and call them. Like, just call, I forget what the guy's name is, but I literally called him and said, hey, we want to do this. What do we need to do? And he's like, they kind of spell it all out for you. They're very helpful. As long as you're honest and upfront with them. That's what they tell you. Just be honest. Tell me exactly what you want to do, and we'll tell you if you can do it. They're very helpful in that sense. So we process all of our chickens on farm here, except for you have to, anything you want to sell at a restaurant or to like a grocery store, they have to be USDA certified then. So those then we take to K&B poultry processing up in Utica, Minnesota. And then our pigs, because of COVID, all the butchers were really booked up this year. So if you want to sell individual cuts of pork, that also needs to be USDA processed. So you have to find a USDA processor in your area. We usually use Burt's like Dayna, or we also are using Dover processing this year as well. We're kind of using some both just because they didn't have room for all of our pigs. And then anything that we sell in halves and wholes, and if our customer isn't looking for like a nitrate-free or like MSG-free pork, then we use our local butchers because we want to support local. So we use them as much as we can, and that's the same with our grass-fed beef. If you want to sell individual cuts, that needs to be USDA processed. If you're selling by the quarters, halves, wholes, you can take that to your local butcher or a custom exempt processor, you might want to call it. So that's what we do as far as slaughtering goes. And I think somebody had a question about labeling. So if you are making if you're calling your poultry pastured poultry, in order for you to say pastured poultry on your labeling, then you do need to have your label, you might want to call it certified, and you just have to do some paperwork. It's really easy. Like I said, you can go on the Minnesota Department of Ag and find out how to do that. When you're making those claims is when you need to have just on a label. You can make those claims on your website and not necessarily put it on your label, if that makes sense. So you can say that your beef is grass-fed, and you can just use the regular label from Burt's Meats or Dover Processing, and it just says beef on it. But if you want to put 100% grass-fed beef, you're making a claim, and then your label would have to be certified through, I don't know who certifies it, but all that's on the Minnesota Department of Ag, and they're very helpful with that. That's where I go for all my information. I think I'm on the phone with them once a month. So
awesome. Thank you. Yeah, Craig, I'm not sure if you have anything to add on the processing conversation.
Yeah, so we've used USDA, we've used Minnesota Equal 2. That's equal to USDA inspection within the state of Minnesota. So some restaurants will do Equal 2. Some inspectors like it, some don't. So it totally depends on the restaurant that you work with. We've done custom, and it totally depends on who's your customer, what do they want. Have done some on-farm bison harvests when we had first started out. And it just depends, like that processor was kind of out in the boonies, and not everybody liked traveling way out to go pick it up, but it was really convenient for us because anything that the meat that wasn't sent along, we just threw into the compost pile, and it was super slick. But like we had a customer that had, like, we kept getting bone chips in there. So, okay, that's not good. When somebody could potentially crack a tooth, like we've refined which butchers we use. They've refined on us some which ones we can use. One of our butchers locally, he had, he's been so busy that he just said, like, I can't do your bison anymore. He doesn't need to, it's something different. He pretty well had to come in at a different time and take time away from his family. So completely understand with that, but definitely find a butcher that not only can do what you need them to do, but is willing to teach you how to get better. A lot of them have ideas about, hey, have you thought about this market? Have you talked to this producer? Maybe, I know this person raises pigs. Maybe that might be something for you. You can tell them different problems that you had with production, and they might be able to weigh in on that. We really like the Minnesota Equal 2 processor that we've been using lately, because everybody comes into his office to talk. So he's just like a sounding board. You can throw things out there. He fires them back at you. You can talk with them and say, hey, a customer wants the sweetbread from the Bison. And then you got to find out what the sweetbread is. Then you talk with them and say, hey, can you save this? What would it take? What might we have to charge? Butchers have a lot of knowledge, and I think people discount just how smart they can be. So it's definitely very important to find the right butcher for the right item, and that can help propel your business too.
Thank you. And yeah, I was just thinking too, Helen is on the call. Maybe she has, I don't know if she has any thoughts. There was one question about wondering about small scale meat processing and permitting changes that might be coming for on-farm slaughter. I don't know if Helen with the Minnesota Department of Agriculture, if you have anything to add to this conversation on processing or permitting or anything about that question either.
See, I'll say that I appreciate Rachelle's comments about how great my colleagues in the Department of Ag are. And we have livestock specialists and specialists working on processing. And so Commissioner Peterson is on and added that our rapid response grants for processors are open. We've been really trying to help our smaller scale processors scale up with the challenges the supply chain has seen. But I am not the best one to give an off the cuff answer, except to say, we want to hear what your needs and problems are, and we want to answer them as best we can. And if we can't, we want to try to figure out what we need to be doing in the future to respond to the needs. And I hope that's okay for tonight.
Yeah. No, I apologize for putting you on the spot there. I didn't prepare you at all for that. I was reading through the questions and just thought you may have some additional perspective on that. So thank you.
Jared, Commissioner Peterson's on. I wonder, does he have do you have an answer to that, Commissioner Peterson?
Add him as a panelist as well. Put him on the spot too. If he has any thoughts or anything to
add. Well, thanks. No problem. I think great discussion. I'm actually just sitting here in my living room, chilling out, listening to this great discussion, and really helps, just guide, what we're working on. We've been working, before the meat processing plants even shut down, we were working to move a lot of plants from custom to equal to, or even USDA, but really working on trying to find those ones that want to go from custom to equal to. And then also bringing a lot of customs online. I feel like every week we're bringing a new plant online. We have our big value added grants just closed. And we got an extra $1 million in CARES funding, but we had $2.8 million in requests. The last time we had this open in April, we had less than $1 million. So that just shows the interest. I also put that we have this mini grant open right now too, that farmers can apply for too, that are doing direct marketing. So check that out. I put that in the link, but really trying to streamline those that want to move forward. I really thank SFA too for helping raise the issue. So great discussion tonight. Thank you. Thank you, Jared. Thank you, Teresa.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. There was a question, seeing that this is recorded, asking if it'll be available on later, and it will. We are recording this. I may have missed the very beginning. This is the second time now. I think I missed about 3 minutes in. I remember, got to press that record button. So I apologize for that. But the rest will be available later. Rachelle, there was a question about your course on marketing. And do you want to talk about that, or maybe if anybody else has any experience or courses or classes that they've taken online or in college that they would recommend?
Yeah, we just took an online course. It's called Farm Marketing from the Heart by Charlotte Smith. It was a very kind of a low-level introductory course, and it was worth every penny. Like I said, she literally taught me how to build a website. She teaches you how to, send emails, how to build those relationships, and I think that was really key, especially since I wouldn't say I'm an introvert. I love talking. That's why I'm the marketer and my husband's not. But it's helped him too. He's not a shy guy, but I could yap all day long. So it's helped both of us in that kind of sense. And I think that it's really beneficial if you really want to get into that direct marketing, but just have no clue where to start. There's a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of podcasts. I mean, a lot of people are doing podcasts now. That's super big. And I'm sure you can type in farm marketing. I mean, I know even the Working Cows podcast, a lot of farmers listen to that. You learn a lot from, even about marketing, from the Working Cows podcast. So you can kind of learn both ways. So I think just looking at those other options to learn more about marketing is, you don't necessarily have to spend a lot of money. So there's a lot of options.
And I haven't.
Go ahead. I was just going to ask if anyone else had any thoughts on that.
Oh, I was just going to say, I haven't taken any courses, but I'd like to, though. I think that sounds like a great course. A book that I would recommend, it's not a farm marketing book, but it's something that I read that has really helped me understand how to differentiate yourself from the big box stores or the butcher boxes of the world. It's called Worth Every Penny by Sarah Petty. It's a small book, short book, quick read, but it really helped me think more about how to really go the extra mile and think more about how you can be a boutique, specialized business where you're really like taking care of your customers. For instance, this year for our delivery customers, we along with their half or whole hog, we made lard soap and tied it up in cute little packages, and we wrote them a postcard and stuck it in the pretty branded delivery bags. Or our non-delivery customers were making sure that they're getting a set of original pig art gift cards in the mail, or note cards, a set of those that they can use. So just sort of thinking about how you can make them feel special, valued, go the extra mile. I'll get all these ideas from that Worth Every Penny business book. Highly recommend it.
If I could, as far as marketing, I read, I listen to podcasts. The Meyers seem to listen to a lot of the same ones that I do. And then I've gone to the Soil Health Academy as well. And I think that Soil Health Academy really hammered in just finding the right people to talk to, finding that group that elevates you, finding other farmers that elevate you. Everybody has different ideas. I won't make lard soap. I won't know how to start. Like, it sounds like a good idea. Here we're talking tonight, about having like pot holders, handing out pot holders for people, like shirts. Hey, if you get a quarter of a bison, we'll get you a shirt or we'll get you a hat. In that way, it helps, like, it shows an appreciation for your customer, but then at the same time, like, they're going to do some marketing for you. So it's kind of a win-win. In my book, I know some people don't necessarily like win-wins, but everyone on here is going to have different ideas, and that's part of building your uniqueness, building off of your own strengths. So we'll figure it out and roll with it.
Awesome. Yeah.
Just for the record, I did not make that lard soap. My cousin did. I don't want to take any credit. It was our lard and all of her skills.
Good to know. Thank you for that. I am sensing podcasts are an important source of information here, and I'll put another plug in for the Dirt Rich podcast, which is our new one. And also, I'm going to have to accumulate some podcast recommendations from our hosts and anyone else, and maybe put something out in our Connect newsletter or something, so you guys can all keep an eye out for that, and hopefully kind of put together a little consolidated list of those. Dayna, there's a few questions for you on here about how you gain trust of your customers to eagerly hand over a few $100 before you even have the pigs on your farm. And then in addition to that, she also asked, do you do email marketing, and how many years have you been doing this?
So about the deposits, I'm sure, I mean, I think we all do deposits, so we could all chime in on that. Gosh, I think it really helps that we've gotten a lot of our customers through word of mouth. So I guess our customers sort of vouch for us. We have a huge social media presence. I try to post every day or almost every day on Facebook and Instagram, just to, and trying to be really real. So I guess people know that we are a real farm. They don't think they're going to get scammed or something. Honestly, I've never had anybody even really question the deposit. I've had some restaurants who haven't wanted to do the deposit, but I think that's more about cash flow being so tight in restaurants, not a trust thing. I don't remember the rest of the questions, but I'm gonna pass it off to the other.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on that early deposits?
Yeah, I can touch on that a little bit. We really haven't had anybody say like, why do you place a deposit? But I know like Dayna and myself, I'm sure Craig, you do too, on your website, it explains, hey, you're placing this down payment to reserve your animal, because we're not a commodity farm. We can't have 1,000 hogs and expect to have enough for everybody. So our customers kind of know that in advance, that we're only raising, a few because we're a little bit of a smaller market. And they know that this down payment deposit is reserving their spot, as well as going towards their end price. So like we require, I think it's $175 for a half a pig. I don't know if it's exactly that, but, and then they know that $175 will go towards their ending cost. So then that will be taken off their final bill. And so most people know that because that's, kind of described on our website. I'm sure Dayna has something maybe similar, I'm not sure. And so they kind of know that. Nobody has said like, hey, why do you want, a deposit for this? I think most people know when they're buying online, or that kind of process. I guess we haven't had to explain that either.
Sure. If there are, Craig, I'll let you answer this too, but if there are any other questions, we got about 10 minutes here. Post them in the, make sure you're posting them. I think I've got most of them answered so far, so post your last ones. Otherwise, I do have a question for Craig after this too.
Okay. So I have a different experience. Deposits are kind of new for us. In our area, I don't think it's normal. And I think part of that is like, we're in a rural enough area that not a lot of people direct market, to put it that way. So customer wise, they're not used to doing deposits. We had a couple people that just they just didn't do a deposit for half a pig or a whole pig this summer. And we reminded them a couple times, hey, like we'd like a deposit. And we basically are trying to cover 50% up front. And then that gets deducted off of the final price. And the one guy, like, he didn't do it the whole summer. I knew he had the money. I knew he would be good for it. So he paid it out and it was fine. But like some people just take a little time to adjust to the deposits. It's really nice, like giving you some seed money to work with the deposits. But I think by the metro, people are used to it. Down in South Central Minnesota, that depends. So that was it.
Thank you for that.
I guess I would highly recommend doing deposits if you can, just because in the past I have had people, before we did deposits, I've had people back out at the last minute. Even with the deposits today, I got somebody who didn't the last couple days who didn't understand, even though I communicated it in multiple different ways, that you needed to pay us for the pork and the processor for the processing. And they backed out after the pig had already been processed to their specifications. So they lost their deposit, which is too bad for them. But I mean, it protects us in a small way, I guess. So, you know, if you're selling a $25 chicken, maybe it's not as big of a deal to get a deposit. But if you're selling like a $1,200 hog, then yeah, you definitely.
Good point.
Yeah, we experienced that to our first year raising chickens. We didn't require a deposit. So we would have people, yeah, I want 10 chickens. And we based all of our chicks that we bought on people like, just, yep, I'll take 10, I'll take 10. Well, here it comes now, I only want 3. And then we had people who, now I want 20, who only wanted 3 before. Now all of a sudden they wanted 20. Now it's like, okay. So last year we ended up having to raise 3 batches of chickens, which we really didn't want to do because we wanted some for ourselves and we ended up running out. That's what, you know, you can run into. Either you're going to have way too much and then not have freezer space, or you're going to have way less than what you need. So I think from our experience, I would highly recommend a deposit, even if it's a couple bucks. Like, not that people want to, I mean, nowadays, like even like $10, $15 is, you know, at least that's, you know, money in your pocket to reserve that, you know, price for something smaller like chickens or, you know, and then, you know, raising that as your product gets more expensive and more like Dayna said, you know, her hog is that's an expensive pig. You don't want to, you know, reserve that for somebody and then have them say, no, never mind. So I think deposits are really important.
Great point. Yeah. Well, thank you. I know Craig mentioned restaurants. I'm not sure if the other two of you do, but I'm curious. One worry I've always had of going with restaurants is, you know, they want all your ribeye steaks and you got to figure out what to do with everything else or something like that. How do you balance, and maybe it's because of your diversified approach with everything else, how do you balance that, you know, that what you need to sell where and all that stuff? That's always just something that I've wondered about.
So it comes down to finding the right place. I think we got kind of lucky with the pigs. We had a restaurant that bought the pigs, they bought the whole pig. So that was super nice because then they utilized it all. We didn't have to worry about like, hey, what do we do with all these hams, which is our current dilemma because now they're buying by the cut. You know, what do you do with all these different cuts? Ideally, you find a complementary enterprise. With the Bison, it's a little easier because, like, if there's something that somebody doesn't want, we can turn it retail. I think we have enough demand for most of the retail products, and if we don't, you grind it. Put it into some form that you can use, and basically, we're just trying to weigh it out and see if that relationship is worth doing. Because if they're just going to do a special of, say, ribeyes, but, you know, they're only going to get 15 of them and they're just going to try it out, you might want to tap the brakes on that relationship and just say like, hey, I'd love to do it, but financially, I need more of a commitment. I need more of a backing. Like, sure, we can try this once. You know, if you're selling retail already and you have the product on hand, it's easy to try it once. But if it's something brand new, I'd be careful. So you definitely have to weigh out your options and weigh out what you can do. We've tried to scale up with our pigs and offer them by the cut with our original restaurant. But again, like, what do you do with all the hams? Yeah. And then we start value adding some of our other products. So like we'll take some of the pork trim and put it into the Bison sausage products. So you always have to make sure you have.
We may have lost him, or he muted himself or something accidentally. Well, I think that is all the questions I've got. So unless any of you guys have anything else you'd like to add last minute on this topic, we can wrap this up with 4 minutes to spare. Any last thoughts from you guys?
There was that question about email marketing.
Oh,
and no, I don't do email marketing, but I probably should. We mostly just, I guess, kind of keep a database of people and then contact them all individually. We don't do, I think maybe I send out 2 mass emails to our Wix shout out list a year. Mostly it's just sort of going through our spreadsheet and sending people individual messages about how they're doing and if they want another pig that year. But I should. I want to talk to both Rachelle and Craig about what I need some help on email marketing.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Thanks everyone who hopped on tonight. I did record this, most of it, so I will make sure we get that up on the YouTube channel. So keep an eye out for that. Keep an eye out on all those resources I mentioned. And if you have any questions about anything, feel free to reach out to me. My email is jared@sfa-mn.org. With that, I guess thank you everybody, and have a great night and good luck with your direct marketing enterprises.